Hello and welcome everyone to the Asian Voices radio podcast, where you'll find real Asian American conversations, including the topics you are too afraid to ask your Asian parents. I'm your host, Melissa May, and my beautiful guest joining us today is one of the most popular comedians, known as a TikTok comedy queen in Hollywood with more than 1.2 million followers. She's a regular at the Laugh Factory and also performs at the Comedy Store and the Hollywood Improv, where she has her own monthly show. She's featured on various publications. She's an activist and philanthropist, empowering women and children and helping causes that touch Asian American communities. Yes, the Jiaoying Summers is on with us today. Welcome to the Asian Voices Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I really appreciate your time.
Oh no, we appreciate your time. Now, jumping right into it. In your bio, it states that you were a dumpster child, and I'm sure it's not easy to talk about, but can you tell us about your upbringing and survival in China during that one-child policy era?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I didn't know I was supposed to be a dumpster baby, and my parents actually told me that when I get A minus in school, they tell me that we took you back from the dumpster, you better get A plus. So it's very common during the 90s when you can only have one child and people want to be a boy, and if it's a girl they give away the baby. When the baby's lucky, it got adopted. When it's not, you get laid by the railway station. It's really painful, and I feel like surviving, being alive, it wasn't the end of okay, now you are safe, because mentally you are told over and over again your life is granted to you, that you have to behave a certain way to deserve, to be worthy of being alive. So that's one of the very important things that I felt I want to empower Asian women, especially the women who were survivors of the one-child policy, because they felt that their life was granted. They should do whatever their parents want, and when they get married, they should do whatever they can do to please their husband, and just their life wasn't really worth living. Their life is about pleasing other people. And I just feel like I want to be the voice to tell everybody that I deserve to be alive. I have every right to live my life my way.
Amen. Absolutely. Well, we're so happy that you're still here, of course, and I know you're changing lives each and every day. But you came to the US as a teenager and you became a citizen just a year ago. So, first off, congratulations. Yay.
Thank
Um,
you.
so, what brought you to the US from China, and what was your life back then and now? I know that's a real loaded question, but
So when I was a little girl in China, I was always trying to make people laugh because I wasn't a pretty girl. In Eastern Asian beauty standard, having dark skin is considered ugly, and my skin is very dark for Chinese. And I have big lips, and I big lips not pretty, which is weird in China. So I was just the girl wasn't pretty, and I want attention. I want people to like me. So I'm the funny girl. And then I remember that my mom's cousin, she got a video shop business, which they rent out Hollywood movies. And I was able to, work there like a child, just kind of watch the store when my cousin would be gone to lunch or something. I watch all the Hollywood movies, and I watched this movie about Halle Berry. She's the most beautiful girl in the movie, and she's so dark, and she's beautiful. So I'm like, what is going on here? I'm dark too. Why I'm ugly? Why is this? Maybe there's something wrong about the beauty standard here. I want to go to America and I want to see what's going on. Maybe there's nothing wrong about me. Maybe it's okay. I'm dark. Maybe I'm beautiful, just even though I'm dark. I just don't want to hate my skin, and it's so hard to not hate your skin when everybody advises you can't wear pink, you are too dark. You have to cover your arms because you are too dark. I was in middle school. I wrote this love letter to this boy. He's so cute. He wrote me back. He's like, I would date you if you are lighter. You are not pretty enough for me. It is bad, and I just don't get it. So I love performing. Of course, I want to become an actress, and I love performing. I love painting. I love literature. I love writing. I love art. So I wanted to come to America to become an actress, but I want to learn business first so I don't have to be a starving artist. Because I don't believe in starving artists. You can't pay for your acting classes.
Well, it seems like your life now is vastly improved, but it's very interesting, the whole idea of beauty standards, because I feel like dark skin means you're tan in the States, and then big lips are like what women want. So I hope you embrace that. You're beautiful whether you're in China or here. I'm sure you've embraced that now. But what or who motivated or inspired you to pursue your career as a comedian? Obviously, you learned business as well, but was there someone in particular that inspired you to become a comedian?
I was literally forced to do a open mic by John Singleton, the director of Boys in the Hood. He literally, it was so funny. I auditioned for his TV show called Rebel. It's a movie about a black girl. She's a cop and she has a sidekick with an Asian girl. It's the movie. I mean, the TV show it happens in Oakland, in San Francisco. So this a Chinese American girl, she was born there. She has this Oakland accent. I did a very good audition, but I cannot do an Oakland accent. I have my Chinese accent. And he loved the audition. I remember I forgot a line. I started improvising, just like making up things. And then it was really funny, I guess. He was laughing. Everybody in the room was laughing their ass off. And then John Singleton, he literally just like walked out from the desk, walked towards me, playing a clip on YouTube of Ali Wong's Baby Cobra, the stand-up special. And he said, "You should do stand-up comedy and you're going to become a star." I'm like, "Do I have the role? Am I booked the role?" He's like, "No, I can't book you for the role because you're not convincing to be a girl that's born in San Francisco. But if you try stand-up, you're going to be a star." It was like, if you think I'm gonna be a star, you're gonna cast me in your show. What you're gonna tell me to do open mic? I was actually very depressed. I'm like, oh my god, been trying so hard in acting. I just like my accent is always like stopping me. I came here when I was 18. It was really hard to get off my accent, and I felt really sad. But he got my number. He texted me next week like, "Did you have your first open mic?" I'm like, "No." So I guess I didn't really do it until I got married. Soon after I did the audition, I got married. I had my first baby, and then I see all of my peers they taking off in their acting, signing with CAA, doing huge movies. I'm the only person who's like, my career is going nowhere. Uh, Becoming a mother, I feel like it should not stop me from having a career. So I got another message from John Singleton. He's like, "You better be doing your first open mic." So I'm like, you know what? I'm doing my first open mic. And that's what I did. I went to do my first open mic, and the rest is history.
Wow, to have the support of someone that's so established in the TV world, keep pushing you and checking in on you and holding you accountable. That's got to make you feel, I mean, if someone like that says to do something, it's like you'd almost be silly not to follow through. So I'm so glad you did. But
It was very emotional, a roller coaster to see somebody who's so great, to see something great in you, and then they wouldn't cast you in a show because of your accent. Like I can't change the show. Like I can't change it. It's and then of course I bombed my first open mic. It's hard, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. So I worked very hard, and I opened 2 comedy clubs just for
it's a
me to be on stage every day to get better, because the only way to get better as a comedian is a stage time. You have to go on stage. But if you are not very good, you are new, nobody is gonna book you on a show. So you don't have the stage time to get better. Then there's like a vicious circle. Like I want to be a comedian, but I have no stage time, then I'm bad. So I bought my club. I go 10
so
hours a
you
day.
bought one. That's a what a good, and then you give other people an opportunity also that may be starting off too. You give them a platform too. What a
Totally.
win-win. Now, again, I want to stay positive, obviously, but have you faced any challenges as an Asian American that happens to have an accent in your line of work?
Yeah, totally. Hecklers, people saying racist, sexist things to me, to my face on my social media. It happens every single day. And thank God I have a tiger mom. Like my mom, she's so tough. Like nobody can say anything that's worse than my mom. I'm like, Mom, I want to be a comedian. We're in a restaurant. She's like, come closer to me, daughter. Just because you failed in acting because you are unattractive doesn't mean you can make it in comedy.
Your mom said that?
Yeah, it's like, so, and then I'm like, why is that? She's like, come closer to me. She started whispering. I'm like, Mom, why are you whispering? She's like, I don't want people to get my wisdom for free. I'm like, okay. So she goes, it's because not all ugly people are funny. So that's when I started my comedy. Like it's like my mom is better at roasting than all of you guys. Like what they're gonna say, like calling me names and stuff. Like I don't care. I'm ready. Like I'm ready for comedy. Like I don't care. I'm doing this to become the best in the business. It will take me for my lifetime to get there, but I am aiming to become the best, and I'll be working hard every day. You can laugh at me all you want, but
I have
I'm selling out theaters. I have millions of followers, and my contents are great. And I love myself now. People are like, "Oh, you are not pretty in China." I'm like, I love my dark skin. I love my big lips. I love everything about me. Like, I want girls to be like, even if people think you are too big, too small, too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny, too dark, too light, you are gorgeous. Just like me. Like everything about me is wrong. It's wrong because people want to define us. Nothing is wrong about us. Nobody hates more than a woman who like herself. People want us to hate ourselves. Oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Oh my God, I'm so tall. I'm too short. No, you are just perfect, girl. You are just perfect. Fuck all. I can't say the F word. You know what? They don't matter. They're not gonna pay your rent. They're not buy your rice. They don't buy your rice. Like don't care about them. Love
well,
yourself. Girls, they want to control us because we have more power than men. That's why they want to control us.
I feel like your mom may have given you helped you develop a really thick skin, which I know is very
Oh
important
yeah,
in
very.
improv. So she started from a young age.
Yeah,
Um,
I was on the show doing my joke. People were like, "You look like the Vietnamese hooker from the movie Full Metal Jacket." I roast them back immediately. Like I'm the be like, "Oh, I'm very sharp and fast and witty. Like whenever who want to pick on me, they are in trouble because I'll be so fast."
ooh, that's obviously a very good quality to have. So, in addition to frequently headlining at the Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, and Hollywood Improv, we talked about you're now the owner of Hollywood Comedy in Los Angeles with your own monthly show. When and how did this all come about?
So when I started comedy and the first open mic, I asked people, what should I do to become great at comedy? They said 10,000 hours on stage. So all of the open mic, you have to stay in line for 3 hours. Then there's a lottery. You are not guaranteed to go on stage. So I'm like, no, hell no. I'll be doing 10 hours a day. How do I do that? Open my own comedy club. So I opened my comedy. I had two. So that's what happens when you don't marry for love, right? Like I opened my own comedy club. I host my own mic every single day, 10 hours a day until before I hired a lot of hosts. That is, they're running shifts now, and I have 8 shows a week. I'm on 8 shows a week. I do 10 hours a day. That's what I did to get better, to get really good at my materials. But before I become a regular at the major clubs in the world, in America. So I believe in hard work, and I don't believe in miracle. I mean, my followers, millions of followers, they help me sell tickets. But if I'm not good, they won't come back to see my second show. So having the followings online is only the gasoline in your tank, but you don't have a car, it's not going to drive. So I want to build this amazing car that I needed to put in the hot, like that's what I need. And the first month I opened my club, it was amazing. And then pandemic hit and I had to close the club. And I was going from 10 hours a day on stage to no stage at all. That's when I started to do TikTok, just to tell I write 5 jokes. I just talk about my jokes into the camera. And I just start doing that, and I start blowing up on TikTok. I remember I was pregnant with my baby girl, throwing up in the toilet, and I was like thinking, I can't not do comedy today, so I have to do a new joke. I was very consistent, so I got million followers during the pandemic. And my ex-husband's like, you should close the club. Like, you are losing so much money. You've been closed for a year. So I started selling my Birkin bags at the Real to pay the rent for my club, and I kept it. When the pandemic was over, I reopened. And I also opened another club in Pasadena called Pasadena Comedy. But I got so busy with touring, so I had to close the Pasadena club, just keep the Hollywood one. So the secret of me getting really good at my craft is literally I work 10 times harder than people I know. I'm not lying about it or bragging about myself. I'm not or saying I'm a workaholic. I just believe in 10,000 hours. How do I put 10,000 hours? That's simple and easy. I don't become great just because 10,000 hours, but I go towards being great. And that's all I want. I want to be respected as a great comedian. Because when you become a great comedian, you have this power that you have the power to influence, and you can actually empower people through humor. You can rip your heart open, show the world your pain, and the people would relate because everybody has trauma, and it's a good thing to just laugh about it. Because if you laugh about it, you got over it. You can move on. If you hide it, you can never get over it. It's hard to be happy again. I had a hard life. I'm very fortunate that me and my mother and we repaired our relationship, and we're having a really great relationship, and she's helping me with my kids. I'm very lucky because I was able to rip open my pain and go through everything and figure out everything and understand it wasn't my fault. And also it wasn't my mom's fault. She was doing the best she can. She was only 18 when she was pregnant. She was doing the best she can. Hating other people is not going to make you happy. I not always just like whenever something don't go right, I always blame myself because I'll always be the person who has control over my life. And when I go on a show, I'm not the best there. I'll be like, why? So I start writing more. I perform more, and I always feel like art is art, but also is a business. It's a business. You don't sell. No matter how good you are, people can't book you. They have to pay rent. The clubs has to pay rent. They're only gonna book people who's funny, who also can sell out. That's why building my following is a big part of my success, I think.
And social media, you can reach such a large audience with you being at home, and yet you can reach people in all corners of the world, which I'm sure was super marketable and great for your business. But getting back to material, you had mentioned a little bit about your material, and I know comedy is kind of organic and ever changing, and you always have to adapt your material. But can you kind of describe your style of comedy and what kind of message you're trying to relay to your audience? I know everything's different, but kind of in general.
I think my voice is one of the bravest voice in comedy right now. I am able to say things that people would not say. They talk about fart, sex, tampons, period, blowjobs. That's the thing people talk about it because it's funny. I don't want to waste my time talking about bullshit like that. I talk about race, the Asian hate that's going on, sexist, like racism, like being a mother, being a woman, marriage, parenting, culture shock, things that's important. Like people are talking about the Oscar slap. I'm like, do you know there's Asian women getting pushed into the subway right now? Like, hello? Why don't you talk about it? And abortion rights. People just like, they got so offended about everything. I don't care. Like, I don't care. My job as a comedian is to amplify, is to empower the people who's powerless and put down people who's too powerful and too obnoxious and is not using their position for goods. Like I have, and is in Hollywood, it's very dangerous when you are not standing with the minority of the people, and I'm not afraid of that. I I'm not a Team Jada Pinkett Smith. And I think the Oscar slap, I just thought that was awful what Will Smith and Jada did. And I don't care. And I don't like Meghan Markle. I don't care. I'm going to say that because people who are so rich, beautiful, and powerful, like your bullshit is not important because there's worse things happening right now. we should pay more attention. And people don't people oh, Asians, they are fine. Like this it's not Asian hate. It's just violence. It's random, and it freaks me out. Like I got really angry. I got so defensive. Sometimes people think I'm too angry on stage. I'm like, George Carlin is angry.
You're
He's the
passionate.
greatest of all time. If you are not passionate, it's all not authentic. Your voice, it is my voice because it triggers me. Because somebody was attacked in San Diego, San Francisco. It could be my grandmother. The girl who was pushed in the subway. It can be me, or my daughter, or your daughter. People just and the school shootings, and women has no right or to their own body. This is not okay, and you are fighting so hard to make sure a woman has no right to abort a baby when she was raped, but it's okay for everybody to buy a gun to shoot the schools. So that's the things people hate, because people don't like that when you are very, very sure about what you think and what you want. They get angry, and I'm not afraid, because my job is not talk about a fart joke. I didn't survive the dumpster to come to America to talk about a fart joke. I'm here to talk about the woman. We have rights to our body, and I'm not saying you can't have a gun, but gun control has to be enforced very much. It's not okay. It's happening. Things are happening every day. That's awful.
Yeah, and I admire you and your courage to have an opinion, because especially as an Asian American female, like you said, they want to not quiet our voices and like act like our voices don't matter, and the fact that you are loud and proud about your beliefs is to be respected. So I'm glad that you're doing that and showing that Asian American women have a voice and it deserves to be heard. So I think
Yeah,
I
and also they make Asian women they call us exotic, and that's crazy. I'm like, I'm made in China. I'm everywhere. Like you are not. Like I'm not exotic. You are exotic. You are from Kentucky. You have ankle fat.
you have ankle.
There's more of me than all of you combined, honey. Because they think we are exotic. That's the whole sickness. Like when the women were shot in the beauty parlor, like the massage, because they think Asian women are exotic, obedient. We don't talk. We're like a robot. Have you ever seen an Asian woman? Asian women are the strongest, loudest, toughest women like I've ever met in my whole life. Asian women. Our vice president is half Asian. Like really, you're gonna think Asian women are quiet and that we are just a sex toy that you can just think we are an object? It's crazy. That's the beginning. Like an Asian woman, we are not exotic. Don't use that word. That word is
We're your
the word is
fantasy.
yeah.
Well, you had mentioned that you had gotten divorced recently. What is it
Mhm.
like to raise two kids as a single strong mother and pursue a career as a full-time comedian and touring and D all the above? How do you do it?
I really don't know. The kids are really amazing, and I got super lucky that my mother moved to America to help me with two kids, and I also fortunately I have a full time nanny that she basically work full time to help my mother. I just work very hard so I can pay for everything. I can give them the best education, and I can take them to park and read them stories as much as I want. And meanwhile, I just still want to get good at my craft as much as I can. I want my kids to know that my mom is the greatest comedian. She she's great. She's very good. She makes people laugh.
I know you had mentioned before that your relationship with your mother may have not been good, but it's now rekindled and you're working on that. Do you have any advice for maybe listeners that are dealing with a similar situation where they're not on great terms with their parents? Like maybe a little bit of background on your story and like any advice on maybe what the viewers could do to mend their relationships with their parents?
It's actually I have a joke about the difference between the Chinese and American mother-daughter relationship. So I had a friend. She was like, "Oh my god, my mom is a bitch." I'm like, "What did she do?" She's like, "She did not show up to my ballet recital twice. She's like, how's your mom? I'm like, my mom is my hero. They're like, what? I'm like, my mom took me back from the dumpster. So what I'm trying to do is like, sometimes some of the very few moms, they can be narcissists and it's not healthy. They would be very abusive to the kids in a way that's not healthy. I think therapy, they should, if you are struggling with the relationship, I feel like the first thing we need to try our best to repair it. Therapy, talking through it, and apologize to each other. Try to understand, put yourself in each other's shoes, try to understand that why that happened. And most of the time, like when you become a mother, you realize that a lot of things between you and your mother, she was doing the best she can. So when people become a mother, they kind of forgive their moms most of the time. But sometimes mom she can just be a narcissist, and it's probably healthy to stay away from her if that's the case. But if it's not the case, do your best to repair, because like no mom don't like her child. I feel like having a healthy relationship with your mother is very important to empower you to move forward with life.
Yeah, mothers are amazing. And the fact that you're now a single mom balancing a bajillion things and still looking the way that you look and being so successful is got to be, hopefully the listeners out there take note. Speaking of advice too, maybe the listeners out there, they're aspiring to be a comedian and they may not be able to buy a comedy club or something like that. Any advice for them on even how to get started?
So my question is always, how much do you want to be a comedian? Give me a scale 1 to 10. 1, I'm like, don't do it, you'll never make it. 10, if it's a 10, you want to become a comedian, you should not have any plan B. It's like, if I fail, I'll do. No, there's no plan B. That's it. Finding something financially you can support yourself, and get, basically, watch all the great comedians, and go to open mic as much as you can. If you think about like Muhammad Ali, would he become Muhammad Ali if he never go to the gym? No. You are not going to become a comedian if you never do an open mic every day, every single day. Christmas, like Thanksgiving, every single day, every day. Doesn't matter how people laugh at you. Like, oh, I remember first time I was doing my open mic, I remember somebody was saying somebody should not be doing comedy. Oh, good. Didn't stop me. People are gonna say shitty things to you. Comedy is dark. Comedy is bad. Like you are going to be at open mic, you kill. Nobody laugh because there's all comedian there. They don't like that you killed, or you bomb. Everybody is like, of course you bomb. You suck. It's not supportive, and you have to support yourself. You have to know that. I am doing the best I can, and you have to put the work for it. I think hard work trumps talents. But we can see some of the greatest talents in acting or comedy, they never make it because the most talented people, they are fragile. They can't handle the pain and the verbal abuse and the toxic. They give up. They move back to Alabama. The people who maybe don't have the most talent, they stay there, keep fighting with their thick skin, and they become a star. And they got better. They do though. I'm not saying the people who doesn't have the most talent, they are not as funny. They got very funny. They got funnier than people who's more talented who give up. So talent is important, but in this business, it is a business. So be a good person, be supportive. You never know. You are being abusive towards somebody else. Next thing you know, she's Tiffany Haddish, like he's Joe Coy. Like guess what? You can never thinking like, oh, this person's poor, this person's not funny, or like funny but is never gonna make it. No, anybody can make it because you don't know how hard they would work. So be nice to everybody, be supportive, and create your own opportunities. People don't give you opportunities because you are not there yet. They don't think so. You create your own opportunities. That's so important. Produce your own shows, do your own open mic, put yourself on stage. Is get on social media.
Absolutely. I feel like the world is kind of shifting over to social media and those now, the influencers, whatever they are. But like we were talking about, social media, you can have a million people watching and you're in your house. Like it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm afraid that's all the time we have today, Jiaoying. I could feel like I could talk to you for hours and I'm sure our listeners would want to continue. But before we do go, do you have a website or social media handle that you could share with our listeners who want to learn more about you and listen to your work and keep in touch?
Oh, yes. So my website, jiaoyingsummers.com, have my bio, my upcoming shows and tickets and tour, and all of my news, my press and publication, and contact info. And for my daily contents, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter at Jiaoying Summers, JiaoyingSummers.
Once again, thank you so much to Jiaoying for sharing your remarkable story here on Asian Voices Radio. If you have any suggestions for future guests or topics, we'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Asian Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance, a nonprofit that empowers our API community with a voice through media arts. If you would like to support our program and make a donation, please visit AsianVoicesRadio.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Melissa May, and please join us next week for another exciting and thought-provoking Asian Voices Radio show. Until then, take care, everyone.